Update on being ghosted by my 33 partner 33 after 13 years. Previous post where I was totally emotionally baffled. //world.reddit.com/relationships/comments/for7/partner 33 funny cisco stigmat 33 howl /ref share sourcing. After that post on the advice of our therapist, who was just as confused, I started pinging her on WhatsApp once per week to ask how she was doing. At about the 8-week mark, she replied by email, containing the delightful phrase "casual contact may now resume." Since she said she wasn't ready to talk about the hard stuff, I started trying to engage occasionally over WhatsApp with pictures of animals, memes, and interesting things I found while on my lockdown walks. She responded with pictures of her parents' dog and simmer. Every couple of weeks or so, I would suggest meeting up in a neutral location at the weekend for coffee. These messages were politely declined, after I made clear how much being simply ignored hurt me. With the help of her parents at first, and later directly, we negotiated time slots of 1-2 hours where I would leave the house and she could come round and collect more clothes, mail, and other items she had forgotten. I packed up her gaming. She's a streamer, and a few other things. She rejected gifts I had bought for her and left them behind. She refused my breakups this was before the Tive was announced, and refused to accept that our relationship had ended in an email at about the 3-month mark, where she insisted that she was not trying to break up with me. After about 3 months, I was able to persuade her to forward some bills so I could begin paying my half of. She had been receiving them all herself only and keeping them paid, thankfully, but was really reluctant to let me have any level of control over this. I feel like there's something to make of that. In our last joint therapy session before she left, it was a topic of dispute that I wasn't paying bills she wouldn't send me invoices for. I argued that she had insisted they all go to her directly instead of letting them come to me. I went through some pretty severe emotional waves, often including fits of crying lasting several hours. Unfortunately, I made the stupid mistake of trying to share this and ended up inflicting a lot of it on her instead. A lot of why type messages interspersed with the happy ones. She never engaged with these and would just go silent for a week or so. I went through a self-harm scare at the 4-month mark, but I got therapy and medication, and I'm now feeling better than I've done in a good long time. Apparently, I am your stereotypical cluster mess person. She didn't really react much, though I kept her updated throughout. Once or twice she made comments in attempts at humour that really upset me. She asked if I was frightened by the summer fireworks. Similarly to the dog, this really upset me, because it really missed the mark with the way the dog can seek human comfort. But by her choice, I had nobody to turn to, been left alone through our national lockdown, silently alone through the strictest part, which began a couple of days after my previous post. I sent an angry email about this. She was, in turn, upset and suggested that I was continuing to create a hostile environment, and she didn't know what she could and couldn't say without upsetting me. And that is why she needed time on her own, which is interesting, because while she was here, I never felt I could say anything without risk of upsetting her. Which one of us is the asshole? Is it me, or both? Although I've been trying as hard as I could to avoid anything that might come across as passive-aggressive or manipulative, I decided that the 6-month mark needed to mark some kind of boundary. So I set a deadline and sent an email demanding that, if she wanted to try to get back together, I would like a statement of intent and an apology. Just one sentence would do by the 6-month line. Her reply on that deadline was that she saw no reason to apologize, that she felt very pressured by my continued communications not giving her space to recover, and that we still had not broken up, but rather that she still loved me, and this separation was needed to preserve our relationship. My reply to that was extremely angry, and I explained a lot about how sick I was of shouldering what I perceived as all of the emotional labor of the relationship. I asked her not to come back, sent my notice to the landlord, which is her parents, to break the lease, and began looking for another apartment. I'm moving out next week, and I will not be leaving her a forwarding address. I don't know if she acknowledges my breakup as valid or not. I really don't think she thinks I have a right to unilaterally end the relationship. But I don't intend to stay in contact, so I don't really care. Most of my friends have congratulated me on finally being rid of her. Admittedly, they've been openly trying to persuade me to break up with her since about 2016. My psychiatrist encouraged me to try dating again already, but I don't think that is productive, and I don't feel ready at all. I am still catching myself wishing she'd call to beg me not to move out. But fighting that feeling down, I told her parents, but not her said that wouldn't happen. They can deal with the ensuing tantrum for once. This isn't an attempt at manipulation, and I hope to be unreachable by the time she realizes it's too late to fix. I hope that if she does somehow get into that position. I managed to reject the thought of leaving this place where we lived together for 8 years is utterly terrifying. But I have to make a space for myself. Maybe even own some furniture or art that isn't hers. Stop being surrounded by the dead old relationship every day. Too long. Don't read. 6 months later. I haven't seen her again and hope I never will. The idiots. Holy shit. Thanks, I'll. Especially the people calling out my bullshit and slash or missing details. Imima try to address some points being brought up below. I am still paying all of the bills. Well, until I leave formally. And the pinging was on the therapist's advice. I agree with the people observing that he may not have been the best therapist. Both of us have personality disorder. Mine are mild. I can still work a normal job and recently diagnosed. My exes are can't work to a schedule and date back around 10 years. I use cluster too frivolously. I have a diagnosis, not the other stuff. That doesn't mean I'm not an asshole or that it's not necessarily there. Of course, our parents were very happy to confirm where she was and that she was healthy. The only thing they wouldn't tell me was why, which turned out to be because she didn't discuss it with them. They are apparently sad to see me go, though that could just be polite wording. She is still left the majority of her stuff here, but obviously not the frequently used things. In the time since my first post, our friend has clarified that he actually has no idea. She's actually cut him off too. She expressed displeasure to me directly about me talking to him like this, though. So it turned out nobody is actually glowing. In her may now resume email, she explicitly said that the move was unplanned, of no fixed duration, and that she intended to come back after she had recovered. After this email, she would send me pictures and lightweight stuff on Subreddit as well. She noticed and sent me an explicit "How are you doing?" when I defriended her on Instagram, Steam, etc. No, she didn't specify what recovered means. Thank you to everyone who mentioned missing reasons, though. I will introspect better and bring this up with a therapist. Breakup 4. Orchids is weird. I'll admit, we got together over 7, and so I made up a presentation of 7 to be a parting gift, to be a bookend to the relationship. This was clearly labelled as such. Her first claim that we weren't breaking up was part of her message, rejecting the gift and the breakup. I haven't got her anything since. The other gifts were incidentals like face masks and chocolate put with a stack of mail to collect. Self-harm scare. I hurt myself and checked into E. I contacted her after the scare was past to get her experience on whom to contact for therapy and treatment, because she's been through the exact same thing. I did not threaten my own sake. She did, in fact, threaten suicide about 15 years ago, because I didn't want to date her at that time. Jesus Christ, red flag, red flag. All right. It's scary how little empathy I showed. But fuck the people asking for her stream name. Seriously, yikes, I never expected this much advice, support, or cuttingly insightful observation. Thank you all. What she did was absolutely toxic. It's reasonable to communicate to your partner that you need a break. It's not reasonable to ghost and let you try to figure out what happened. I can understand how scared you must be at facing such a large change, but it will get better with time. Good for you for standing up for yourself and no longer putting up with that kind of behavior. You need to remove her from your life 1000%. It's the only way forward. Yeah, Don't leave her a forwarding address. She doesn't see you as a fellow human, just something that can be turned off when not needed.